We would like to welcome you today to our mobile training content delivery webinar at a promising trend for today and tomorrow. For those of you who don't know us, I want to introduce ourselves. I'm Lori Bakopoulos, also known as Lori B, and I'm the founder of Cobblestone Consulting. I have over 25 years of experience helping customers realize results through reducing processes, implementing new technologies, and empowering the workforce to be more productive. So today I'd like to introduce our knowledge expert, Michelle Shane. Michelle and I have been working together over the last 10 years, and she's joined our team as our Chief Learning Officer. She comes with an entrepreneurial spirit as well as lots of Fortune 100 to 500 company background as well. So we're in good hands with Michelle today. Additionally, I want to introduce a couple more folks on our team, and that would be Jitendra Khatri. He's our lead developer running our development team, and he helped collaborate quite a bit here on this presentation. And then also Cindy Cardoso. You all have probably worked with Cindy in the past. Cindy joins us as our Chief Solution Officer today. So thank you guys for attending. I wanted to just cover some quick housekeeping rules. You are muted, but you've been using the chat panel. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat. We will have some areas where we ask questions, and we'll place people off mute so that we can have some collaboration. Just a 1-minute blurb about Cobblestone. Cobblestone's been around for 17 years, and we're a management consulting company focused on project management, training, and custom software development to include mobile and tablet development as well. So without further ado, Michelle, thank you for delivering the webinar today.
All righty. All right. Well, thanks everybody for attending. And I just want to throw out a couple of questions today, because when I first started being interested in mobile training and mobile experience, I had a lot of my own questions, and I thought that these could be the same kinds of things that you guys may have. Just wondering, when you have a choice of using an app, a mobile app, or just going to a website and viewing it on your phone from the actual website, and it gives you a chance to download the app, do you have a tendency to stick with just what you can see through the web, or do you actually download the app? And as you answer that, I'll tell you what my experience, because I'm not a millennial, but I've got kids that are millennials, and they want to use the app for everything. They don't want to look at things through the PC, or to look at a website that is not an app. They are they are tied to their phones, and they want an app for everything. And I can see that there are some people responding, they want to use the app. Now, I don't know how many of you guys went to our last webinar. Last month in December, we talked about micro-learning, and we're doing a lot of training here at Cobblestone. And micro-learning is something that's really kind of all over the place now. Everybody's talking about how to do more micro-learning and how to shorten some of their courses into small, like 2-minute videos. And we touched on how well micro-learning can be used with mobile. And so we had a lot of requests to go ahead and do a webinar that focused specifically on mobile. And we're not just going to be talking about micro-learning, but we're going to be talking specifically about mobile training today. Now, what does mobile really mean? A lot of people call it mLearning also. So you'll see that term kind of thrown around. Now, in a nutshell, it's really self-paced learning on the go, and it's designed for tablets and mobile devices. And mobile learning is not just because you're moving around and going places. It's specifically, people think of it mostly for mobile phones, but iPads and tablets also. People can engage in mobile learning from their home, their sofa, the beach, wherever. It's really the device that you're using. And it has become very prolific in the last couple of years, and we're going to be talking about that. Why now? It's been around for 7 or 8 years, really, but there's been a steep acceleration in its adoption. So why is now the best time for your organization to get into mobile learning? So we'll talk about that. Today, we're going to discuss how we're using mobile learning and what are the benefits for this, and how can it solve some of your business problems. And then towards the end, we're going to talk about the steps to implement it in your company if you are interested. So we talked a little bit earlier about who's using the app versus just going to a website and seeing the responsive design. So this was something that was confusing to me at the beginning when I was just learning about mobile, because I really, not being a millennial, I had just expected all the websites I go to be responsive, which means that what they do is a responsive design is where somebody has created the website and it will work on your phone. So maybe the menu itself, instead of being across the top, it's like 3 dots or something on the right-hand side and it drops down. So that's what they call a responsive design. And then there's the app that you can maybe go to Google Play or to the App Store on the iPhone and download the app, which is an interface that is been completely redesigned to really let the content shine on the small smartphone screen or the tablet. And that is what's called a native app. And it's much more minimal and distraction free. So for example, I put a couple of pictures here. Like this is an app for a bank. This is like Bank of America app here, and see how nice it's set up with these squares, and it's all clear and you can read everything. But if you go to the website, the Bank of America website, and just log in, all the text would be all little and tiny, and you'd have to scroll through things, and because it's not really designed for your mobile phone. It may be responsive so that it's tall and skinny like this, but you may end up sometimes having to scroll a little left and right, or you can't see things on the right, or there's multiple screens to have to go through to get to the stuff you want. So I just want to make sure everybody is crystal clear on what we mean by the difference between just going to the website on your phone and an app that was designed specifically with the phone or the tablet in mind. All right. So let's talk about how we're using mobile these days. So I got a couple of scenarios here for you. Here's Frank. This is Frank. And he's an executive and he runs a big company. He's going to be setting up all sorts of global offices across Europe, and he's got a lot of new employees, and these employees need to be trained within the first week or so on the job. And the people he's hiring are, people in their 20s and 30s. It's a lot of, young people, and they're used to doing everything on their phone. They're doing a lot of traveling. They want to make use of the downtime while they're flying back and forth to the European offices that are being set up. And he wants to be able to support these people. These younger, less experienced people, as they're replacing, some of the retirees, they need a knowledge repository where it's going to be easy to find specific topics for them. So what Frank has decided to do is create a mobile app. Now he's got onboarding training, and he's got a learning management system, but it's really not set up to be easy to use on the phone. And so Frank had some requirements. He wanted a single sign-on to make things easier for his employees to jump into the training. He didn't want them to have to remember complicated passwords, so it's just one sign-on for everything. We got that going, and then there's lots of different people with all kinds of different roles at his company, and he wanted the employees to be able to just simply click on what their role is, and they would go right to a custom learning path, and this allows them to take only the training that they need. So what it does is the app actually recognizes their credentials from their sign-on, and then in some cases you can click on a more defining role. So either way you can do it, and it takes you just to the exact learning that you need. We also have a learning management feature here that allows the student to get certification. They can take quizzes. There are opportunities for gamification. So curious if you guys have heard of gamification. That's all the rage right now. Employees are able to get badges and compete with each other to get these badges, and there may be things like a leaderboard, and this type of social learning promotes friendly competition between colleagues, and there have been many studies that indicate that this really drives completion of course material much better than some of your traditional learning. So you can see all the different choices here. They can go to videos, a curriculum. If they have already taken the training, there are these micro videos available in the reinforcement selection, and you are able to check your progress at any time. And then it's, easy to take the quizzes and get the badges as well. Now, Lori, I'm going to open it up to you. In case you're on mute, go ahead and take yourself off, and you can talk a little bit about the executive dashboard that's available.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And the points that you were just making, allowing employees to actually get their training, from away from the office just helps them be more productive. And especially per our last webinar, really coming back to the micro videos that allows them to do their job in a more productive manner. So from an executive dashboard perspective, Frank would love this because as an HR executive, he'd want to understand, of the number of people he's onboarding, let's say month over month, how many are actually executing and taking their training in the time that they are required to do so. So that allows him to really speak to his executive team around metrics of how people are doing and how the onboarding is going, which allows him to be much more responsive to his customers and apply a repeatable process. So there's many different customized dashboards. We just work with different companies to make sure that the metrics that they need are available. So why is Frank happy? Again, he feels confident that he's getting the correct training to the right people based on their role. He's keeping up with the new workforce and their particular way of consuming data and doing their job. And then finally helping the new employees become more productive on their job prior to on-the-job learning. So this really helps an executive keep on the pulse of what's going on real time.
All right, excellent. So with that said, we're going to move on to another scenario. This is Doug, not his real name, just kidding. And he works in supply chain management, and he needs answers to his questions about stocking and returning inventory. And the thing is, Doug is rarely at his desk. He is out in the warehouse most of the time, and he needs to be able to find the latest information quickly. So what we've done here is we've created all these micro videos, which is reinforcement training for the live training that he and the other employees attended. So they have gone to this 2-day training on the new application that has been created. And so all these micro videos have been created for them that they can watch at their desk as reinforcement training. But for people that are out in the warehouse, out in the field, they can't keep running back to their desk all the time when they're out there. So the mobile allows them to do a search, so all the videos are tagged with keywords, and so they can do a search, and using these filters they can go immediately to these 1 or 2 minute videos. And the great thing about it is that they can actually use voice activation, so they don't have to be typing in. I don't know about you guys, but I am not a fast typer on my phone. Like, my daughter can use her thumbs and type things super fast, but I take a long time to type, so I would much rather have it voice activated. So you can use Alexa or the Google Assistant or the Apple Siri. You don't have to type, and just say it into your phone, and it brings up the video, and you're always watching the absolute most recent videos that are available. If the process or procedure changes at all, you can see the latest stuff. And they can also push these things out on an hourly basis, so you get the most current. So if he needs any reminders on what he'd learned in the live training, this is great, and it does allow his manager to continuously, I don't want to say continuously, that that would be crazy, but anytime there's a new update, they can text him and provide him with a link to whatever is new. So you have this back and forth communication using the phone or tablet that you can't really get as well when you're sitting on your laptop or desktop, because people tend to check their texts more often. So now this is Pam. She is in a bit of a different situation. She works for a major corporation from her home office. And Pam is all over the place. She does a lot of traveling, but also she likes to work when she is at her vacation home too. So she's like many of us that just kind of work all the time. She's on her smartphone throughout the day. She's checking it all the time, and it's just really her preferred way to access things and access her training. And so she likes to be able to access bits of information during her workflow. She doesn't want to have to get off her phone, get on the computer, log into the LMS, and start training. She wants it, she's got 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and she wants to be able to take a little bits of training when she needs it and when she wants to be reminded of something. So when Pam travels to her vacation home, this looks like this is Wyoming. Yep, this is Wyoming. And she gets to take the training offline because everything is downloaded to her phone. And then when she is somewhere where there's a cell tower again, everything just synchronizes up with the LMS as soon as she is within range. And that is just called offline learning, and it's one of the flagship features of a mobile app. Really, this 24/7 availability is just one of the best features. So, it doesn't matter how far off the grid the employee is, they can still continue training on trains and airplanes, and we love that, right, for them. All right, so let me just go over some of the benefits here that I have mentioned and some that I haven't. We've gone through 3 different scenarios here to support, one to support human resources, the onboarding, operations, and remote workforce. So let's discuss some of the mobile benefits here. Mobile is known for higher engagement. mLearning, as I said, it's being used by almost 50%, 47% of organizations worldwide. So this is being seen as the future of learning. So a lot of people say, okay, so why do I invest in the extra expense because you're going to be left behind, because everybody's doing it and you want to be seen as being, cutting edge. You don't want your employees be thinking, oh, okay, well, nothing's on the mobile device. All the other companies are doing it. Why aren't you doing it? Mobile learners typically study for 40 minutes longer than students using a desktop or tablet. Well, really, we should say tablet is also something that can be considered mobile as well. The longer they study, the more training they're getting, and that's good for all the money that you've invested in training. 70% of learners felt more motivated when training on a mobile device as opposed to a computer, and that's probably because it's more engaging. It's very graphic. There's the gamification, there's the videos, there's audio, there's animation. It's just much more interesting and engaging of a device to learn on, and this is what the new workforce is looking for. Smartphone learners complete course material 45% faster than those that are using a computer. So all these studies have been done, and that is why now it is time to start at least moving yourself in that direction. Learning on the go. They don't want to learn on their office desks. You can learn anytime, anywhere. As I've mentioned, higher completion rates. It's the flexibility. A lot of offices are calling themselves bring your own device. That's what they're doing in my kids' college. You can bring your phones, and if you prefer to do your work on the phone, that's fine. So people are expecting that now in the mobile world. And it provides the just-in-time information. The content can be pushed out quickly. A text can arrive and say, there's a brand new procedure here, click here, and here's the video for it. And if we haven't mentioned this enough, it's highly popular with the millennials. So let's talk briefly about how you might move forward with mobile learning in your organization. Just like with many other projects, we're gonna come to you and do a requirements gathering, and we're going to be working with you in an agile method, which means that we don't spend a ton of time up front on heavy documentation. Is called agile as opposed to the waterfall method. So many of you guys may have heard of this before. It's a very iterative process where we begin and just show you things for your approval along the way. We may have something for you to look at, and it's fast as a few days, and then we just keep tweaking and tweaking the design. So you're involved along the entire way. We'll ask you some questions. Do you have an LMS, which is a learning management system? If you don't, that might be something that you want us to develop. We'll ask you if there's any branding guidelines to follow, that you want certain colors, fonts, a particular look and feel, or something that you've already seen out there that you want to model yours after. How much content do you want to include? Do you want to include everything that you have right now in your existing training? Are we taking a classroom instruction perhaps and making it into a nicely designed mobile app? Are we taking PowerPoints? That can be done. Do you want any videos? Do you want any audio? Things like that. Games. Do we need any surveys, quizzes? Do they need to pass quizzes with a certain amount, 80%, or is it simply they just take the training when they can and they don't, it monitors their progress, but they don't necessarily need to take quizzes. So that is just 4 of the many questions that we ask you during gathering requirements. And then we use something called wireframes. We do mock-ups of the app, and that way you can decide, what kind of a design do you like, and is it showing enough? And we want to make sure that it works on all the mobile devices, whether it's the iOS system or Android or whatever people are using, or whether they're using tablets. Make sure that it looks pretty on all that. And then we go into the development phase, where the programmers will begin, like I said, a very iterative process, so we can make changes on the fly, and actually projects get completed much faster than if there's just tons of documentation and, thick needs analysis and all kinds of stuff. So it's a much quicker and more cost-effective work to do the agile development. And then lastly, we will do the testing for you based on your requirements. We'll make sure everything is working and make sure that it's a fun, enjoyable app for people to use. And there's rarely any training needed on how to use it. It's just simple, a nice, simple, clean interface. Now, at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Lori, and she is going to kind of wrap things up today.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. And I just wanted to thank everybody for joining again. And we hope that this webinar actually helped you think about different ways that mobile could benefit you in your business. Hopefully the 3 different scenarios helped you kind of envision that for your own company. So we just wanted to also reiterate that if you needed any assistance in talking through whether you could use a mobile app or would it be beneficial for your own company, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'd be happy to have a discussion with you and help you, go through some of those ideas. So what's next? This is a short and sweet webinar. We will record it. We'll have the recording available for you in the next day or so on our website. And like I said, if you just reach out to me, we'd be happy to have a free 30-minute discussion with you about perhaps some business cases we could help you design for your company. And then next month, we'll be providing a webinar around some templates and some planning guides that you can use in developing your training. So we'll be providing some free templates along with that webinar as well. So again, we really appreciate your participation today, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Thank you.
Thank you.